Hello and welcome to Super Rugby Round 2 review, brought to you by DrivingMaul. Hi, I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, a podcast, YouTube channel, Twitter handle and website. That's it. Bringing you the best in rugby predictions and opinion. And joining me tonight to go through all the games and for us to tell you where we think the teams have come. I wish I could start again, but this is live. And tell you how we think the teams are all going is Steve, the man behind Cornflakes Crib. How you doing, sir?
Hey, you remembered. That's good. I'm very, very well. Good to be back. Talk about the weekend's action, which has been sleepless nights watching so far.
Oh, no, you've done it again. What are you wearing?
Clothes. Come on.
Clothes. The clothes bit's okay. The hoodie bit's right. Yeah, that's it. Hide the Wellington Phoenix jersey. I'm sorry. This is not a football show.
Got to rip.
Okay. Oh dear. Sorry. Anyway, for those of you watching, yes, unfortunately, Steve has gone and put on his Wellington Phoenix top, which is not good. It's always ruins my whole demeanor for the show.
Especially just for you. That's why I do
it. Cool. So predictions wise, how did you do this weekend? Let's quickly.
I got a couple wrong. I got all leading up well until the joke of the Waratahs and what was the other one I got wrong? Of course, the Hurricanes. I'm sure we'll talk more about the Hurricanes. I'm not going to go into that now. But yeah, a couple. I mean, could have gone either way there, especially that Waratahs game. I mean, if there was a team that didn't deserve to win, it was them.
Oh wow! Well, I was going to go through. Should we go chronologically, or do you want to dive straight into the Waratahs one?
Save the best one for last. So I've got lots to go on the last one.
Okay. So chronologically, the first one we've actually talked about this one already. So a couple of nights ago, but the Highlanders versus the Blues. So if you want to have a full 40-minute in-depth view into this, go back and watch the live post-game reaction that Steve and I did. But the Highlanders came out of this winners 41-34 and deserving team win?
Oh, you'd have to say so. I guess they played the whole match probably overall better. But it was a great start to the weekend and it got everyone excited and up in the mood for some Super Rugby. But didn't really last out the full round, unfortunately. But it was a great start. Highlanders, yeah, better 80-minute performance. But that was a game that definitely could have gone either way, anyone's match in the end. But exciting, high-paced, yeah, had everything in it, right to the better end. But yeah, good to see the Highlanders start off well though, and good to see the Blues actually competing nicely too, because a lot of us thought that they were going to be average again this season.
Yeah, I think that the big thing here is unlike the previous weekend in round one, where we saw the two South African teams show some rust, early season rust. This game didn't. This game could have been played. You could have been three-quarters of the way through the season with both teams at their peak, playing perfectly. There was no rust in this game. The passes were sticking. The moves were all working, and as you say, it could have gone either way. It really got down to basically the yellow card. Probably saw the Blues run out of steam towards the end, and so you got to say in some ways that Kiri probably lost the game for the Blues. I think not only did he get yellow carded, but he also gave up a silly penalty late on, which allowed the Highlanders to back out to a lead. And on top of all of that, he's managed to get himself cited. Did you see that?
I read about it just before. What's the details? Fill me in.
So he's cited for physically abusing a player by striking them with his head, which I think in English means he headbutted somebody. Now, I missed that during the game, so we'll have to see. So yeah, I didn't actually spot it during the game. I don't think any of the commentators or anyone else did, but it sounds like he's headbutted somebody. I think they said around about the 69th minute. Apparently, the hearings were supposed to be on Sunday, but I've had a look around. I can't find any results of the hearings. So
this is a separate offence to what he did during the matches as well?
Yes, this is not the offence he got yellow carded for. So this is another offence on top of that, which means, yeah, if I was Tanner, I think I would ban him for a few games for that alone. Never mind, and let the judiciary also do their bit, because that's very poor by a player. Apart from that, this was a good game. Both teams turning down threes until the clock started to, until sort of halfway through the second half when clock pressure started to take over. And my only negative from this game, I think, was the poor tackling. Highlanders, 84%, the Blues, 79%. That's not great tackling, really, let's be honest.
It's two very attacking sides, though, at the start of the season. I mean, I don't know what you really expect, but I think ultimately that game come down to, yes, the yellow cards, yes, a bit of ill discipline by that man specifically, but the bench, I think, played a big part in that game. The Highlanders were off the bench, were really, really strong, really, really good, kept that same intense level, didn't drop anything from it. And the Blues kind of fell away as the match wore on. I think two Smiths were fantastic, the key men, just doing everything exactly right. Aaron Smith's game was, top shelf. It's more than what we can say about his other All Black counterparts playing in the number 9 jumper throughout the week. But we'll talk about them shortly later. But overall, I just think they got the right players the ball and kind of played how the Blues played the start of the game when they were shooting out and doing the good things their way. So, a clever play for the Highlanders. I think it's a bit disappointing that they got the bye in round 3. So we won't get to see them back that up and straight away, but good start for them. And like I said, good start for both sides, but a lot to work on for the Blues. They could tidy up a lot of things around the area. But if they get rid of Kirikou for a few months and hopefully he learns his lesson and comes back a bit better next time.
Yeah, I think the Blues, they sort of blew hot and cold. We saw a bit of panicking by Poole at one point when Sonny Bill Williams tapped the ball back to him and he should have just taken contact. And then on the flip side of that, we saw Sonny Bill, Duffy, Rico Duffy messing around down the 5-yard line, 5-yard corridor, scoring a try. So they blew hot and cold. Andre in the live chat goes, Highlanders will be the entertainers this year, score and concede plenty in most games. Both teams to struggle in the tournament. I think there's a lot of positives coming out of this for the Blues. They didn't execute quite so well. They're panicky at a couple of stages and also had Kiri being a bit of a wally. But apart from that, they did a lot of good things. Aaron Smith's box kicking was also on point this time, which is great. He's much more known for his kind of his sniping and his accurate passes, but his box kicking was also on point. As you say, both Smiths came out. In fact, all the All Blacks that play for the Highlanders came out and played well. And one of the things I say is when they play well, the team plays well, and they get their points. So very much as expected. I think in some ways, when those guys click, the Highlanders click.
Yeah, and you could also add future All Black Rob Thompson clicked pretty well as well. Yeah,
Rob Thompson also played very well. And also, actually, a player that you called out, I think pre-season, also the I've gone blank as to the name, the guy in the number 12 jersey, the younger guy.
Ty Walden?
He also had a good game as well. I thought he was going to be the weak link, but no, both those centres outplayed their All Black counterparts.
And if you talk about the positives from the Blues, I think a lot of what was talked about pre-season was the number 10 as well. And it was good to see Bryn Gatton have a pretty solid game. I thought, he was nowhere in the second half, but first half he was really, really good. And the key guys in their side, because like you said, a lot of positives on the Blues, but the Ioannis, like we talked about after the match as well, Akira, the game was made for him, but good to see him performing. Rico, of course, being involved, but the Duffys, the Sonny Bill Williams, and those guys as well. It's good to see them taking a bit of responsibility for the team and performing at a decent level. Surely if they can keep up that sort of momentum of the first half, they will definitely upset a few teams this year.
Yep, and we saw a very different game in the second game when we went over to Australia with the Rebels hosting the Reds. The end result here was 45-19. I mean, I predicted Rebels by 5. I didn't see a blowout like this, but then again, I also didn't see a red card and a yellow card either coming into this. So Scott Higginbottom, shoulder contact with the head, maybe a little bit harsh in the fact that he's a tall guy, hit a small guy, but you've got to bend those legs and get down. It looked like, so I don't think it was a maliciously going for the head. I think he was as you said, he was the guy taking the high tackle, and there was another guy taking the low side of the tackle. So poor execution rather than intent, I think, there.
Yeah, you'd have to argue that it was a silly tackle at the same time. Possibly didn't need to go on so hard. Possibly didn't need to go on like he did. But we've seen it. It's become the trend throughout the opening couple of rounds, isn't it? You just you touch someone's head with a feather and you're going to be going for 10 minutes in the bin straight away. And already, like, everyone that knows my channel will know that yellow cards are a big deal. We've had 11 this season already. We've only played 9 matches. We've had a couple of reds as well. Last year we had 143 yellows, and I think we had about 9 red cards from memory as well. So we're well on track. Everyone talks about the high scoring record that we're going to beat again this year, 3 years in a row, whatever. Who cares? It's yellow cards. That's the real record we're going to be chasing. The reds, though, I read an article in the newspaper, and it went on about all the matches. And at the end there, it said, the reds, you're stuffed. That was his parting comment at the end of the article. I don't even know who wrote it, but I thought it was rather apt because they look absolutely, completely woeful. They look terrible. Apart from that first 20 minutes when they first lost that red card, they were pretty good. And I think the Rebels were a bit stunned as to what was happening. 13 men they were down to, and they were still scoring tries. But after that, it all became too much for them. Glad that the Rebels did actually come good because they have to, or else there's going to be some serious questions asked about this team over the rest of the season. But they come good. Probably the biggest concern they'll probably have is they didn't really finish that well, the Rebels. I think the score it was 45-12 or something with about 20 minutes to go. And they didn't actually add to that at the end. So good match. They got the win, but close game. Are they going to be closers to finish out and take a win?
Exactly. Well, for the Reds, I don't think there's anything we can take from this. They got that red card at 10 minutes, a yellow card on 23 minutes. And in fact, Lucan, however you're supposed to say it, the tip tackle on Genia has been cited, and it should have been a red. And it would have been a red if Higginbottom hadn't already gone, to be honest. And then after that, basically, the Reds played well and then ran out of steam. And who knows what the Reds will be like? We can't tell from this game. On the Rebels side, though, it took them a long time for them to get to take advantage of the extra man. As you say, it was 7-14 after 28 minutes. They had 2 men advantage, and they were still losing that game. That was appalling from them. And again, they got up to 45-14 after 57 minutes, as you say, and they couldn't close the game out. Some good things from the Reds, though. So for the Rebels, though, Genia is the heartbeat of that team. Yeah, he looks back on form. He's got a horrible hairstyle, but he. But he's playing out of his skin. Dane Hallett-Pitty also looked good and put on a lot of good yards. But the Rebels had a 58% tackle success rate. 58%! Ooh. That's appalling. So yes, I don't think. Again, a couple of good things from the Reds, but from the Rebels. But I think. I'm going to not be able to say his name now because I can't read it. But the fly half. Debrasini. See, there we go. Debrasini. That's not how it's written. Anyway, Debrasini is not a Super Rugby fly half. Sorry, I think the Rebels are going to struggle personally. But I say there's not much we can take because they're playing against so few men. Brent in the chat says, "Would we have complained if it was a yellow rather than red?" Probably not. But Andre is correct that it does tick all the boxes for it to technically be a red. So yeah, that's where they're. And Andre reckons that the Rebels will only beat the Sunwolves going forwards. Well, talking of the Sunwolves, obviously that I slept. Segue. I slept through the. See, quality. See, I've only done 580 videos to get to this level of skill, and I can't even do an intro properly yet. So, where were we? Sunwolves versus the Brumbies. That was slick until you called me up on how slick it was. I slept through the first half, but I saw you tweeting at me saying Sunwolves have dominated the first half. They lead 19-15. So I missed the first half of sleep. Tell us all about it. How did it go down?
First question I've got to ask is, what the hell were you doing asleep at 5 o'clock in the afternoon?
Because I've been up early to do the France-Italy game, and I was up early again on Sunday morning to do the Scotland-England game. So, I've been sleeping odd hours, basically sleeping when rugby is not being played and being awake when rugby is. It's just been all bit nuts.
Well, I can tell you one thing. The Sunwolves were 100% entertainment plus. They look good. They really, really look good this season. Yes, they're at home. Probably made a big difference. It was the Brumbies. I expected better things out of the Brumbies. So what we saw in that game, they struggled through the whole entire thing. The Sunwolves look really strong in the forwards, which is probably the area that I consider them to struggle the most. Being a Japanese side, Japanese teams don't excel as a pack. They have standouts in few positions in their forwards, but ultimately as a unit, they're never really as strong as many other sides. But they looked really good. The addition of those New Zealand, Australian, South African players in their team definitely makes a big difference. We've already talked about like the Willie Britzes and players like that. But what I think the big difference was, and I think we talked about it previewing it when I was talking with whoever I did, it must have been Daniel Scottish Cannon, the number 10s at the Sunwolves. Big difference, especially Hayden Parker, I thought, played very, very well. I thought he was really, really good for them throughout the game. But this is the backs. The Lafaelis, just so strong, so quick, so hard to put away. And they looked slick through the backs, the passes to hand. There was continuity, which, being Jamie Joseph, Tony Brown, the combination we've seen at the Highlanders, the forwards were solid, doing the jobs, winning the ball, setting a platform like you do. But the backs, it was just continuity throughout. The passes were going to the man, they're going to the chest, they were hitting the players on speed, and they look like a completely different unit. And they were impressive. They were scoring tries, and to be fair, the Brumbies were pretty scared that they were going to be in, and they were lucky. They were lucky to escape that with a win. And I think the Sunwolves really should have escaped with a bit more than just one bonus point.
Well, okay, so in the second half, the Sunwolves managed 2 penalties, and they brought about their own downfall. Passing the ball into the post and allowing Kieran Drying to pick it up and put it down. That's the first time I've ever seen that happen. So you've got to say that the Sunwolves were the engineer their own downfall there. The Brumbies only kicked 50% of their kicks. They left a bunch of points out there. So I think from that point of view, the Sunwolves were lucky to come away or to be close enough to get that losing bonus point towards the end of there, because the Brumbies should have put them out of sight by then, rather than allowing allowing them to be that close come the finish. So I thought the Brumbies would be better coached or better drilled than they were. That's the kind of thing that we expect from the Brumbies. We're expecting the Brumbies to probably top the Australian Conference, so I thought they could have done better than that. But well done to the Sunwolves for getting themselves up in that first half and to come away with a losing bonus point. Really, it's good to see that, but I can't see them coming away with 2 more wins this season.
Well, they're going to be a team at home, aren't they? That's where they're going to excel the most, is when they're in front of their home fans. Which, I mean, results like games like that, even though they lost, they already get good crowds, but that's going to get even more support behind them, because that's tries, that's entertainment, that's what the people go to watch. And it was a really entertaining game. They were exciting. Yes, they were the architects of their own demise in a way as well, but they did play exciting rugby. It's dry, it's good conditions, it's a good crowd. It's just a fun time for them, and it's going to make a big difference for them in the future as well. I think Brumbies I'm not sold on the Brumbies yet. I'm not convinced by that performance.
No, but they will. I think they will. They'll get slicker with players like Pocock coming back. I think they'll improve. And so a little teaser for tomorrow. One of the questions we'll be asking in the #Rugby Chat show is which ground or which Super Rugby ground has the best atmosphere for a game of rugby. And I think it could. Somebody, me, will be arguing for the Sunwolves, I think. So let's have a chat. So join in the #Rugby Chat tomorrow night at the same sort of time.
Dunedin?
I haven't been to Dunedin, no. But there you go. Perhaps you'll have to dial in just for that one question to put that point across. So in the end, the Sunwolves lost 25-32 to come away with the losing bonus point. And just popping back to the Rebels Reds game, Higginbotham apparently has come away with a 3-game ban for his red card there. Then on to the second New Zealand derby of the weekend, the Crusaders versus the Chiefs, 45-23. This one really blew out towards the end. and another one where the referee had a big impact.
Yeah, I don't know if he really changed the match. It's a decision I don't agree with fully, but I think this is a typical Crusaders performance, isn't it? They go in, they grind a team down over an hour, they just kind of play it how they want, and then when it's all, in a big pile on the floor, that's when they go and just completely destroy a team at the end. It's Crusaders. It's cliche Crusaders. On that bad call, I don't think it should be both the try and the card. And 2, what are we talking 2?
We're talking 2 because I think we're 2 bad calls. So before we even got to this stage of the game, where it was a yellow card where D-Mac's head was taken off by a high tackle with a swinging arm. The referee decided that D-Mac was going down, and therefore he gave a yellow rather than a red. To my mind, D-Mac was at full height. He's not a very tall guy, but he was at his full height and got taken out by the head. So I think that one was supposed to. I'd have gone for a red there, and then I think for the yellow card and the penalty try, for me, how is the defender supposed to touch the attacking player? If an attacking player decides to dive towards the line, then they have to take responsibility for that, not the defender, because the defender's got nowhere that they can touch that doesn't basically get them off the pitch. And that's my point around that. It might be against the rules, but or not the way the current rules are written. But that's my view as to how it should be written. But anyway, unless you really want to go on about the referees, there's much more to talk about in this game than the referees, and I'd like to get away from that.
Well, one quick point before we do move away from them. I think it's more not a bad call as in just inconsistency on the call is what I'd more call it. It's just not the same for everyone. And on that whole crotty tackle with the around the head, that happened again later on the round. I don't know if you've seen it. I can't remember if it was the Lions Jaguares game or the Hurricanes Bulls game. I think it was the Lions one. There was a ruck clean out happened, and a guy got a yellow card for that too. But he literally can only go into the ruck one way, and the man's right in front of him. His head's right there. What's he supposed to do? So it's the same sort of thing. It's getting to the point. Where else are they supposed to go? So that's all I'll say on those. But I do think that the whole crotty tackle should be one or the other. And we've seen that again in a match as well. Same game. That was a Jaguares game. Penalty try and a yellow card killed them.
It did, and we'll get on to that one later. The one you're talking about,
it's the same situations.
It's a very different situation in the penalty in the Jaguares one, because that's a slap down. It's not a dangerous tackle. But the
two things.
Oh, you mean the
two things?
Two things. You don't think? Oh, yeah, the double whammy. Yeah, and that's how the rules are written at the moment, and that's unfortunately how it's going to be. The other one that I don't, but the one in the Lions game that you're talking about, where he goes in with his shoulder and hits to the guy's head. When you're joining a ruck, you're supposed to bind. There was no attempt to do that. The player was off his feet. He was getting blown by the referee anyway. He basically was taking the law into his own hands. He should have just tried to grab and lift him, and let the referee deal with it. To be honest on that one. But hey, it's easy to say in hindsight and not in the heat of battle. But the Crusaders, basically took advantage of a couple of Chiefs errors to get up, and then basically played scoreboard pressure. For the rest of the game, and basically at the end, the score blew out as the Chiefs started to try to chase the game, and that penalty try didn't help matters. This wasn't a 45-23 game. This was much more perhaps a 2-score game rather than 3 or 4 score game difference. And that came down to I guess some of D-Mac's playing. A lot of people are having a go at D-Mac. In the first half, he played very flat, and we saw errors come about because of that, because of the high pressure defense from the Crusaders. In the second half, before they were chasing the game, he took 2 steps back, and at that point managed to play much better, a bit more space. Distributions was there. We didn't see the errors from the Crusaders' pressure. So I think he just needs to learn when he can step up and when he needs a bit more space, and to alter that himself. Not wait for the coaches to tell them at half time. And then there were errors towards the end, but they were chasing the game. that's how it was. That's how it was going to be.
Oh, I thought you had some more points then. No, I was going to agree with you there. I think once the Chiefs tried to desperately throw all caution to the wind, that's when it completely blew out. But yeah, no, I don't think anyone's sold on Mackenzie at 10 after any performances they've seen on. But yeah, it's going to take all season for him to really get any bearing on it there. It's going to take a long time. It's going to mess up everything in front of him and behind him and all around him. So it's just, yeah, if they want it to happen, they're going to have to wait. And the Chiefs are probably going to suffer on cause of that happening. But you did notice in the second half, when he did drop back a lot, the old Damien McKenzie was back, wasn't he? He was coming back from kick returns. And he just made you look and go, oh, yeah, where was this for the first 60 minutes? But I see what he'd gone with, but it's going to cause a lot of pain for the Chiefs, isn't it? In the long run, it's going to cause a lot of people to be asking questions why. But yeah, overall, I think this game was just complete Crusaders tactical genius of what they play, how they play, and they just control and they just grind down. And it's just class team, class tactics, hard to beat.
Yeah, absolutely. Turnovers really hurt the Chiefs. 10 for the Crusaders and 17 by the Chiefs. Is my key stat from this one. So yeah, but I think Mackenzie will be fine at 10. I'm going against the grain. And being able to mix it by stepping forwards and stepping back, as long as his scrum half is aware of where he is and passes the ball to him rather than the wrong space, then I think he could cause a lot of teams a lot of problems. Now, on to the one that you've already had a mini rant about. So,
come on.
Waratahs versus the Stormers. So the Waratahs came out ahead 34-27 in this game. I personally thought the Waratahs stars did well. And it's this game, I mean, the Waratahs is all about Hooper, Foley, Beale, Folau, and the rest of them are extras, let's be honest, in this show. And I thought those four did pretty well. So your pre-show chat suggested otherwise.
Well, I don't think over the whole match they were the better team. Would be what I'll put it down to. The game pretty much ending up to be a draw, harsh as it was, but yeah, both teams are really poor in some places and really good at it. I think the Stormers scrum was probably the best set piece we're watching in the whole weekend. It was just, when they got singing along, they were just destroying all in front of them. But the difference was their line-out was pretty terrible. The thing is with a scrum and a line-out is Waratahs can quickly put that ball in and out and they're gone. A line-out, you've got to win it. You can't really cheap around a poor line-out. So that was a big difference. Yeah, I agree with you. I think Foley played pretty well. I think if they miss Foley, the Waratahs are going to go down the toilet in a big way because he is just that linchpin. Folau's game disappears without Foley. It all completely goes away. So in the forwards, I think Stormers definitely were the better of those two sides. And the way that game ended, great for Stormers, for Waratahs fans, I should say. But it was a bit anticlimactic just when that line out all collapsed and it was like, yeah, we know what's going to happen now. And good on them. They played to the full 82 minutes and got the win. But it was an interesting matchup. But I think the better team lost on that night.
Interesting. So it was a very even affair. Obviously, it was 17 all at half time. It was 27 all as the clock ran out, and the Stormers had a line out. Now, the Stormers line out had not been functioning that well. They lost 3 line outs in this game, and so what? It felt a lot worse, didn't it? Yes. So you've got you've times out. You're in your own 22. It's about you're drawing the game. You throw it to the front, you take a high percentage ball, give it to your scrum half, kick it out, you're on the road in Australia, and you've come away with a draw. That's not bad. No, they throw to the back of the line out, miss everybody, lose the ball, and lose the game. And it just shows poor decision-making by the Stormers there under pressure, which is really bad. They should have they should at the very least have walked away with a draw from this one, but they haven't done. They've missed that opportunity. The Stormers failed to take advantage of the yellow card, and they let the Tars off with silly penalties at times. So I think the Stormers have got themselves to blame for this one, and they should have done a lot better.
Yeah, I agree with the comments that I'm reading going through there from Andre saying the Stormers are going to regret this loss. Yeah, they will, and they should too, because they were good enough to win that game. And I agree with what you're saying. Get that out. Take the draw. A draw on the road for a South African team. Top marks. Take it. Run. Take it and go. Yeah, they played well enough, and I think they got some real key players in there that can control the game. We've talked about many of them already. They're senior guys just doing the job, but they just seem to lose their head at key points. That final line out, yeah, they just completely, as soon as that ball went free, Waratahs got that breakdown. They were playing like Waratahs of last year. They had no idea where to go. They were just all like headless chickens running around with no clue what to do. And there was just everyone around the ruck. No one was out wide. The defensive structure was out the window. And you just seen it all going down. As soon as that ball come out, it's like, no, not like this. This is not the way it's supposed to be. But, come, round whatever near the end, 14, 12, when they're starting to tally up if they're going to make the finals, they're going to say, maybe that one would have made the difference for us. Absolutely,
and they are missing Eben Etzebeth, let's be honest. He would have brought some leadership to the line out, definitely. So,
and a yellow card or two.
Well, maybe not. We'll see. And then, but anyway, I'm sorry, you're the expert on yellow cards. You know who picks them up, so I'll leave that to you then. So, talking about yellow cards and discipline, the Lions played the Jaguares. Oh, these segues are just going so smooth tonight. This is amazing. The Lions ran out 47-27 winners in this one. And I think they were deserved victors. They show that they're playing well under their new coach. But definitely the Jaguares were a little bit hard done by in this game. But before we get on to that, I thought Mapu is playing some wonderful rugby at 13, getting round players and releasing players. Demanti, I hope I got that right, has had a great debut to Super Rugby. 3 tries in 2 games. 2 of those are wonder tries, going down for sort of try of the season contention already. And the other winger, I've gone blank as his name, also zoomed in from Mahuza. Also got in for a good try. They're looking pretty slick, the Lions, so far.
They do. Yeah, they look really slick. And that was one thing I was going to bring up about them. Those guys, and you partner them with Kudzea as well, the fullback, who is a solid, no-nonsense guy that's very classy, but he's kind of like a Ben Smith in a way. He does what he does well, and he doesn't make too many blatant errors. He takes his ball. He doesn't do anything wrong. And you put him to 2 young guys, very calm, get the job done. And they are electric. They are just amazing. They are a joy to watch. That Dianti kid, he's going to be just amazing. So, yeah, really, really excited about them. But I did notice from that game, that opening passage, probably, what have I got, about 20 minutes or so of that game, the Lions couldn't do anything. The Jaguares were all over that game, and they were leading 12-3, I think, from memory at one point, and they looked really good. Boffelli was amazing. He was carving them to ribbons, and the Lions were making breaks themselves, but the Jaguares were defending really, really well. But it all turned. It all turned at one specific point of the game, which was the second double whammy, which I'll segue perfectly back to you on.
So the second double whammy that you're talking about was the Lions were out wide on the left. They had a man overlap. He puts the pass out, and the winger deliberately knocks the ball down, stopping the move dead. Now, yes, that's a yellow card. It was a deliberate knockdown, but the double whammy is it was penalty and yellow, definitely. The double whammy is they also gave away a penalty try. Now, I thought the penalty try was harsh, to be honest. I think the number 9 would have got across. I think there was also another player sweeping across. I think there were 2 players that could potentially have tackled the winger and stopped the try. So to me, that wasn't a penalty try, but it was a yellow card and it was a slap down. It was a penalty. Later on, there was also another yellow card, which we talked about, which was a player going in on with the shoulder into the ruck where there's a guy laying all over it, and there was nowhere else for him to hit, but he should have tried picking him up or something instead. You can't take your launcher out of your own hands if he's lying over the ball. The referee blew for a penalty and it got turned around. And the penalty count of 9-12 against them. Discipline is, again, their problem. And I think the other thing here was they're playing at altitude, and they basically they ran out of steam as well towards the end there.
Yeah, that penalty try just completely changed that match. The Jaguares were leading up to that point. They were in control of the game. And it wasn't the first time that they had knocked the ball down intentionally like that either. So they were playing on the knife edge, as you were. So you got to be careful of that. But yeah, they were 20 odd meters out. It was still a long way to go. It was a pretty harsh call on them, and I think that really changed the game, because after that the Lions took the lead, and then it just completely got away from them very, very quickly. I think the Jaguares did lose it a bit. It was like the Jaguares of old. They lost their composure a bit. Everything went out the window. The game was essentially over before they thought, well, let's try and get back into this. And they scored some good tries at the end, but it became just an open kind of training game. Everyone was just having a good go, chancing their arm, and tries just flying thick and fast. So I do think
having a good go. The Lions trying to play out for their own goal area, having a good go. That was just, as you say,
well, when you're leading by 20 points.
It descended into being, a bit more of an exhibition game towards the end than real rugby, which is just farcical. The Lions ran 666 meters with ball in hand. That's nuts. 294 for the Jaguares, but also tackling. I've got to bring the stat up again. Lions 84% tackling. That's okay. It's not very good, but it's okay. The Jaguares 64% tackling.
I hope you've got that stat for the next match. I really do.
I haven't, but I will go get it for you.
You biscuit.
But yeah, no, that was the Jaguares. That's 2 games on the trot now where they've where the decisions have gone against them. They've got a yellow card and they've lost the plot. And they need to get that. They need to stop doing that. They need to understand that there will be times when they get yellow cards against them, and they've just got to learn that to keep playing, because they would, as you say, they were still in this game. There was no way they should have or needed to capitulate in that kind of way. So moving on then to the last game of the round, I will go and get the tackling stats while you give us a précis as to how the Canes lost this one.
Well, I mean, how long you got? This is a game I could talk about for quite a long time. I watched this knowing the result, because I did watch it the next day, being working on the weekend. So I did watch this one knowing the result, and I saw the first half, and I just two things in this game. I'm going to narrow down to what happened. The Bulls, I'll mention they're good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, especially 4 and 5. Their second row, just ridiculously good. Forwards, hitting tackles, offloading, opening up space on the outside. Just those guys. It doesn't matter anyone else. Pollard was decent enough as well. They all played all right. But just those second rowers were just phenomenally good. That's point one of why the Bulls won this game. Point two.
And what was good about them was they attacking in the inner, down the centre of the pitch. Yeah, offloading. And I do have the offloading stats. So that's what I want to. So that was one of the key stats I was going to bring up. That offloads the Bulls 22 to the Hurricanes 10. How often does a South African team have more offloads than a New Zealand team when they play each other? Yes, fantastic.
They were outstanding.
They were good.
They were truly brilliant. Yep. And you hope we got stat better ready for the next one, because it's number 2, and it said the Hurricanes couldn't tackle a wet sack of potatoes. They were disgustingly bad. To see one man just two guys fall off him and then lay on the ground as if they're hurt, and then just slowly trundle on back. They were horribly bad. I'm trying not to use bad words here, but they were so bad. I've not seen a defensive effort that bad in just about any Super Rugby side in a long time. Defensively, they were terrible. Their forwards were woeful, especially the whole pack was pretty bad all around. They played all right. I thought they fed scraps to the backs. Whereas Hoosen, he played pretty well, but boy, he didn't get a good pass in his hands all night. He just got scrap bounces rolling on the floor to him. He had nothing really to work with. Arso and Lamafe didn't really get anything. And I'm going to go back to a man I thought might improve at the Hurricanes, but High West was absolutely terrible. He was no direction at all, no threat. So it just gave them more time and space to target their centre pairing of Arsenal Lamapa, and then obviously outside those guys as well. So, yeah, the thing that got me about this game, and I'm going to ask you one question, okay? One situation. Here we go. So you got 20 minutes to go. You're trailing by 4 points. You got Ehigh West playing really badly. Julian Salvia, terrible out in the wing. Matt Proctor out of his depth at fullback. And you've got the golden boy, Beauden Barrett, sitting on the bench. Who do you bring him on for? Simple question. Who do you sub him on for?
I would have brought him on for West. To be honest, I think West blew hot and cold during that game.
Hot and cold?
No, he had his moments in that game, but he also had some awful ones as well. But personally, I like to. Personally, being a Blues fan, I've watched West more than I would like to have had to do, and yeah, he's not. He had his moments, but he also had some howlers as well. He passed behind players too often, and at the very end there, fantastic little off switch move with Beauden Barrett, gets the ball and then tries a chip and just chips it into someone's hands to lose the game, and that was just like no. So yeah, West unfortunately is not for me. Now I think that double tackle that you mentioned at the end of the first half came down to altitude and tiredness, which we shouldn't be seeing this early in the season, even from a travelling team. But this is going to amaze you here. The Hurricanes tackling percentage 84, the Bulls tackling percentage 77. So
don't believe it.
The Bulls tackling, yes. Admittedly, the Bulls made 64 out of 83 tackles, and the Hurricanes made 107 out of 127 tackles. So they did miss one more tackle, but their percentage was actually better than the Bulls. The problem also is the Hurricanes line out wobbled as well, and it's kind of interesting that you don't associate kicking out as with New Zealand sides on the whole, but the Bulls had 18 lineouts. That shows you how often the Bulls were in the Hurricanes 22, and the Hurricanes were just having to do normal exit strategies and trying to get out of their own half. I think that was a lot of this. If you look at the territory. The first half, the Bulls had 65% of the territory and 56% in the second half. The Hurricanes played a lot of this game in their own 22. Were having to kick it out. They just didn't have the game their own way, and that really told towards the end.
Yeah, I think they took a long time to wake up as well. The Hurricanes, both teams. I could understand maybe if the Bulls had played in round one, but obviously they hadn't. And two teams coming out fresh, and the Hurricanes were nowhere to be seen in that opening quarter of an hour of the match as well. I'm interested to know what you thought about TJ Perenara as well. I kind of explain it, but I kind of describe the way that they play sometimes the Hurricanes like they're spoiled little kids. I know people are probably not going to like that, but with the exception of, I think Barrett was really good when he did come on, but just wasn't involved in the game enough. But they kind of play like in that game in ways as if they expected to have already won the match. They played as if they could tell what was going to happen and could control it themselves. And when it didn't happen that way, they did kind of lose their marbles a bit. Perenara is probably one of the most chatty scrum halves going around. He probably talks, would you say, too much, if not anything, complains about a lot. But I just think as if they didn't like how it was going and did throw the toys out a little bit. I think they could definitely do a lot better. In the rest of the games, you got to pick it up a lot better from that. But that I don't want to take anything away from the Bulls as well, because all the Bulls did play really, really, really well. That pack was immense, and regardless, they deserved that victory. Do you put it down to John Mitchell being the super coach? You know, we talked about it before.
We have talked about it before, and who was I was actually chatting with someone at work, and we were looking through the coaches. We were discussing who are they going to be the future coaches for the All Blacks, and we had a quick look at the past records. Mitchell's record as an All Blacks coach was pretty good. Clearly just upset the press because he didn't talk to the press very nicely. You could see his effects in this in the way they played down the middle with offloading style. They played really well. The skill level of those forwards, we've not seen the South African forwards play like that for quite a long time, if ever. I'm going to agree with you here. I like TJ as a player. I hate his mouth. I wish he would just shut up sometimes. When the referee says, "This is what happened," and he goes, "No, this is," it's like, whoa, TJ, hang on, calm down. The referee decides what hasn't happened on the field. If he says something hasn't happened, then it hasn't. You can't go back and tell him you're wrong. And I'm amazed that so many referees put up with it, to be honest. I would like TJ to watch what he says a bit more. But as a player, I think he's a wonderful player. And his option taking is pretty good. I think. I mean, look, he had 4 runs, 2 breaks. He knows when to go, and he can go really well. And he's a good passing. I think this was more about West rather than TJ.
I definitely wasn't saying it was his at all. I just think more of the talking was about him. I think, decision-wise, he was pretty good. Like the little grabber for the Barrett try was, clever, smart. And the way he plays is very, very good. I like the way he's a very different sort of play. He's a strong, power-based halfback as opposed to being just a distributor or a little quick little snipe taker. He's a power man. He takes the hits and he's a very good sport player. No question about that at all. But just it takes it too much into his own hands sometimes, and he should just buckle it down and get the team in behind him a bit more and front up with the whole team behind him.
Yeah, maybe. That's that's all the games, and we've only overrun by 17 minutes. Which this show is only 50% longer than I expect than we aimed it for it to be. But I think what we can say is I need to eat my words around the Bulls pre-season. I said this was a 2-3 year project for Mitchell, and I think they're going to be challenging towards the top end of that of the African Conference now. It's going to be a great 3-way battle between the Lions, the Sharks, and the Bulls. I think it's going to be a really interesting conference this year. The Hurricanes, I think once they're home, they've got to go to the Jaguares next, which is a hell of a lot of travel. So once they get home, I think we'll see much better from them. So I wouldn't discount the Hurricanes yet by any stretch of the imagination, especially when Bowden Barrett is starting instead of Ihaya West as well. There'll be a different prospect entirely. But the South African Conference is starting to look good. The New Zealand Conference again looking great after the 2 derby games this week. The Australian one, a bit less so.
Yeah, it's a bit of a struggle. I have one question for you there. Was there a reason why Bowden Barrett did not start their match, or was it just a selection?
I think he's been at a couple of weddings recently, or did he actually get married himself recently? So I don't think he's had as much pre-season.
Recently, yeah.
Plus, also he has played an awful lot of rugby last year. He's one of the few players who seems to start every single All Blacks game. I would. He has bigger fish to fry this year than a couple of Super Rugby games.
See what the Hurricanes think at the end of the season. He made a big difference, though. Completely fair. There was a massive difference when he came onto the field at the end of that game. But yeah,
we are
well
talking. We are talking the World Player of the Year for 2 years running. He's going to make a difference to any team he comes into.
And number 10, not 15.
It has been at 10. Cool. As I say, we have overrun by a long shot. It's thank you everyone who's been watching this. Every Monday night we'll be going through the previous week's games. So do join us back. We will finesse the format to try and get it down to half an hour rather than 50 minutes, which is what this one's already run out to. Steve, quick, let's get off the air. Where can people find you and get in touch with you during the week?
Cornflakes Crib, that's all you need to know. Find me, Twitter, come have a banter on there, or on YouTube, of course, for all the videos. All sorts of rugby stuff going on there. Come have a stay and say hi.
Cool. I'm Paul, the guy behind DrivingMaul, at DrivingMaul on Twitter. Please do, if you're watching the video, there'll be my face there to subscribe, or up there's my latest video. If you're watching the recording, if you're watching it live, then just go down below and click subscribe. You know you want to. If you listen to the podcast, obviously subscribe to your favorite podcasting app. And this week, we've also had this show tonight. Tomorrow night, we have the Hash Rugby Chat show, where we'll be talking about the hot topics in rugby. Wednesday night, I will be doing a show just for my Patreons, which will cover the Rugby World Cup qualifying, and I'll be doing a show at 9 p.m, so an hour later than this, giving my Aviva Premiership predictions with a professional fan out of the UK. I mean, I didn't even know that you could be a professional fan. Thursday, you can do that. There is one guy who's a professional fan. Learn all about it on Wednesday night. Thursday, we will be previewing the next round threes games, and then obviously when we get into the round three, I'll be doing some live post-match reactions as well. So don't step away, do subscribe, and get all of the live action right here.